Not all heroes are made equal, traveler. Some protect the weak, and some just have a cold heart. Capable of freezing even the toughest bosses, the Ice Shaman is to be feared, for in the right hands, it will freeze anything alive. Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today's build is the Freeze Shaman. We're going to maximize the amount of freeze that we can do. We have 2000% global freeze multiplier. On top of that, you'll have a little bit more with the Ice Thorns buff that you get. You also have more inside of the skill trees, so things like Avalanche and Ice Thorns itself will have a little bit more of a freeze multiplier than that. We also have more freeze multiplier per stack of chill on the enemies, so you get 300 to 500% more freeze multiplier if you have 3 stacks of freeze on the enemy. And then on top of that, we also have the Storm Totem, which will be applying Frostbite every second at a 60% rate chance, and every stack of Frostbite that's on the enemy will reduce their freeze avoidance by 200, a flat number. So getting a couple of stacks of that will also increase the chance of them being frozen, and all of that synergizes together well to give you a very high chance of freezing the enemy. It's not quite a perma-stun against the bosses. Against trash mobs and things, they'll be frozen until you kill them. It's still pretty much based off the amount of health that a mob has, so things under a certain threshold of health, which I'll say around 10,000 health and under, will pretty much be perma frozen. Now the other thing that you'll have running is you'll have Thorn Totems on hit, and we have Thorn Totems also doing freeze chance as they are cold totems, and all of that together just lets it synergize well. Tempest Strike will be giving you mana back. Avalanche will always be going off and hitting for good amount of damage and having its chance to freeze enemies on hit. Ice Thorns will be, of course, freezing on hit. Now the Storm Totem doesn't have a chance to freeze on hit, but again, it does reduce their freeze avoidance, which allows for you to freeze the enemies much easier as long as they're in the Storm Totem Blizzard. Alright, let's go ahead and get into the skills. For skills, we're running Tempest Strike, Summon Storm Totem, Summon Thorn Totem, Ice Thorns, and Avalanche. For Tempest Strike, we're using this for two things. Tempest Strike hits have a huge chance to freeze, and we have a chance to get mana back with it, so it's our main mana generator. We have 1 point in Reinforced Stone to unlock Unspent Power. Unspent Power with 5 points can give you 20 mana back whenever you do not proc Lightning Bolt, Earth Spikes, or Northern Winds with your hit. We have 1 point in Chilling Blows to unlock Winter's Chill with 4 points in there. Tempest Strike and Northern Winds both have a 300% increased freeze rate multiplier. For Tempest Strike, that's huge, especially when you put 5 points in Absolute Zero, which gives you a base 100 freeze rate for Tempest Strike hits. The reason that's huge is that's almost as much as the 120 that you get on the big hit with Glacier, which we all know Glacier on the Mage is huge for freezing. So Tempest Strike, actually hitting enemies with the actual Tempest Strike, is going to give you a huge chance to actually freeze them on top of all the other things that we're doing. We also have 1 point in Shatter for some critical strike multiplier against frozen enemies, so when we do freeze them, continuing to hit them with Tempest Strike or Northern Winds is going to do a little bit extra damage. We have 1 point in Winter's Blast, 1 point in Hailstorm, all of that to unlock the 1 point in Grounded, so that we can cancel out the chance to proc Lightning Bolt, and we have an increased chance for that Northern Winds. And the reason we want to cancel out the lightning bolt is we want to reduce the chance of proccing the things that we don't want, so that we do have a good chance to get the mana back. And the boost to Northern Winds is always good because it has that increased chance to freeze. For Summon Storm Totem, we have 2 points in Static Field for some more increased shock chance, which we're actually converting to chill chance. We'll show you how we do that here in a couple of seconds. For Lightning Raider, we have 60% increased cast speed. We have 1 point in Direct Current for some more base crit chance, and then 1 point in Blizzard so that around our Storm Totem we now form a Blizzard. This Blizzard has a chance to chill enemies every second, a 25% chance every second. We also have 3 points in Frostbite, so that same chance we have to chill, we now have a chance to apply Frostbite every second, and with 3 points in this you have a 60% chance. The reason this is a big deal is Frostbite not only applies cold damage over time, but it reduces the enemy's freeze avoidance by 200, so getting multiple stacks on that is just making them that much more likely to be frozen by your other skills. And 1 point in Frozen Solid so that the Frostbite effect is a little bit more potent. We also have 5 points in Icicles for giving our Storm Totem a lot more base cold spell damage, and 3 points in Chill to the Bone so that you have a 60% increased chance to chill. That 60% chance is added to this 25% chance, which means each second there is an 85% chance to chill. Also, this also converts any shock chance that you had into chill chance, and so with the 2 points over here in Static Field, you now have a 105% chance every second to apply chill to all enemies inside the Blizzard, which means that you're putting 1 stack on guaranteed every second, and within 3 seconds all enemies within the Blizzard are going to have the maximum 3 stacks of chill, which means that you have your maximum chance at that point to freeze. They'll also be getting that chance of Frostbite, which is just going to help give you more and more opportunity to freeze the enemies more. Anything that survives for 3 or more seconds is probably frozen unless it's a boss and has a huge amount of life. Anything with 100,000 plus life is really hard to freeze just because of the way the formula works. For Summon Thorn Totem, we are also using this for a chance to apply chill to enemies and for a chance to freeze the enemies. The other reason that we went with Thorn Totem is because the Shaman gets a huge boost to its elemental and physical resistance for every totem that it has, as well as a huge boost to offensive power with 32% increased spell damage per totem. So being able to get 5 totems out at all times just because your other skills are hitting enemies thanks to the idols is why you want to have the Thorn Totem. We have 3 points in Forested Expanse to increase the maximum amount of Thorn Totems that we can have. We have 3 points in Eternal Forest, 1 to increase the duration of them, and the other to unlock the 1 point in Grove Mine, so that all of the totems are summoned in a ring and all at the same time. And what this allows is when you proc it just once off the idol, you get all 5 totems at the same time. We have 2 points in Memories of Edera, 5 points in Venom Tipped Thorn, so that we have a 100% poison chance, which will be converted to chill chance. We'll go over that in a second. 2 points in Lasting Affliction, so that the chill duration will be longer, and 2 points in Rotten Core so that we get chill clouds on totem stat. The reason that all of those are chill and not poison is thanks to the 1 point in Ice Thorn totems, which now converts its base physical damage to cold damage, poison to chill, and it now gives it a freeze rate of 15. Here's the other cool thing: with just 1 point in Frost Attunement, you have a 25% increased freeze rate multiplier. Remember, this is minion chance to freeze, so your regular freeze chance doesn't really affect this, but the Thorn Totem also gets a freeze rate multiplier per point of attunement. This build has 61 points of attunement on it, which means that this one node gives us a total of 330% minion freeze rate multiplier, which means that these Thorn Totems actually have a pretty good chance to freeze, especially since there'll be 5 of them doing a bunch of hits, and you'll have the clouds applying chill, which also increases the freeze rate multiplier. For Ice Thorns, we're using Ice Thorns because, one, it's free since we're using a 2-hander and it's nice to throw it in there, and because it gives us a global increased chance to freeze. So we have 1 point in Emblem of Might to make it free. We have 5 points to increase its base cold damage and to give it a 200% increased freeze rate multiplier. That's 5 points in Cold Prison. And then 4 points in Forward Heart means that as you're casting it, we'll have 4 stacks of Forward Heart, which gives us 100% more cold damage, and 160% more freeze rate multiplier. Those are global, that applies to all your skills. We have 1 point in Nim affiliate to unlock the 1 point in Thorn shield, so that it now creates a shield around you for 1 second before it actually fires outward. We have 1 point in Bulb shield, so there's a 10% chance that every time we cast it that it can be recast. 1 point in Second Nature to turn it into an instant cast, so that we don't have to worry about stopping to cast it. It's just always going to be going off, so we just put it on auto cast. And then 6 points in Floric Tides to reduce that cooldown, so that not only does that cooldown get reduced to 1 second, but you now have some crit avoidance while you have a Thorn shield active, which will be at all times. And then for Avalanche, which is our main damaging skill, first off, we want it to be a cast and forget, so we have 1 point in Mountain Peak, 1 point in Precision, 1 point in Wild Path, 3 points in Unyielding Storm, and 1 point in Hailstorm. What this does is, this 1 point in Wild Path means it's no longer channeled, you cast it and it lasts for a duration. This makes it cost a lot of mana, but it now lasts for 8 seconds. 3 points in Unyielding Storm increases that duration. I lied. It lasts for 5 seconds. It has an 8-second cooldown, but putting 3 points in Unyielding Storm increases that duration from 5 to like 7.8 seconds. So basically the entire 8-second cooldown, it's now going to be going off. And then 1 point in Hailstorm is now it will follow you. It's not going to just go where you cast it. Now, I don't have mana problems on my build. If you are having mana problems, I recommend taking out some of the other points that you have in here for like the area and putting them into the mana efficiency. You shouldn't really have them. If you are running at a mana, you should probably just be using Tempest Strike more. We also have 3 points in Harsh Winter for 30% increased hit damage, and then we have 3 points in Grounding, which gives us 45% more damage while there's a totem that's active. Now, more damage is potent because it's all of the damage that you're already doing, and then it's multiplied by that. So the more multiplier is huge, and that's why we put 3 points into it. We have 2 points in Explosive Impact, so that we have a larger impact area. This really helps with trash mobs and things that are coming in huge packs, so it's just hitting everything around you. 3 points in Dead of Winter for our freeze rate multiplier, so that obviously it has a higher chance to freeze. 1 point in Frost to convert, instead of it being part physical, part cold, it is now 100% cold damage, and all of its increased stun chance is going to be freeze rate multiplier. We didn't take any stun chance, but if you do take any or decide to, it will now add to your freeze rate multiplier. And then 1 point in Frost Touch, so that there's a chance to leave behind frozen ground. Enemies on that frozen ground will have a chance to be chilled every second that they stand on it. Now you could put 3 points into Shatter Shot, which gives you more damage against frozen enemies, up to 60%, and I tried that, but since enemies aren't always frozen, it was just better for us to take the 45% more damage at all times. However, if you want to mess around with the points, maybe not have it, follow you, just be cast wherever, you can mess around with the points and get that extra 60% more damage against frozen enemies, which is going to make it hit like a truck whenever your enemy is frozen. For passives in the Primalist base class, we have 25 points with 1 point in Gift of the Wilderness, 8 points in Natural Attunement, 6 points in Wisdom of the Wild, 5 points in Tempest Spawn, and 5 points in Elder Branch. We have 8 points in the Beastmaster with all 8 points in Ursine Strength, and that's just because you take 16% less damage from nearby enemies, which, since we're trying to play a melee build here, just seemed like the best route and is really effective for just 8 points. No points in the Druid, and 78 points in the Mastered Shaman with 8 points in Shamanic Infusion, 8 points in Silent Protector, 8 points in Tempest Form, 5 points in Windbringer, 5 points in Hailbringer, 5 points in Shattered Heavens, 10 points in Heroids Path, 5 points in Protective Circle, 8 points in Ruin of Awe, 8 points in Elemental Shrines, and 8 points in Ascendant Circle. For items, there are 2 types of idols that you want to wear. We have chance to summon a Thorn totem on hit and increased cold damage per active totem, and we have percent of damage leached as health on hit along with increased cold damage per active totem. The damage leached as health on hit is the one you want more of. If you can get 3 of those, that'd be great. Those are definitely more of the thing that you want even over the cold damage, so if you have a suffix on those that you don't necessarily need, I would get the percent of damage leech's health first because it's going to help with your survivability. You only need one idol that has a percent chance on hit to summon a Thorn Totem. It also doesn't have to come with the cold damage per active totem, but the more of those that you get, the more damage that you're going to do, as all the things you do is cold damage. For our weapon, we're using a two-handed sorcery staff. Now remember, as a two-handed sorcery staff, this is going to increase the mana cost of some of your spells, but a lot of the things we do are free, like Tempest Strike is free, instead it's actually generating us mana. Ice Thorns is free, so the only two things that cost mana is going to be the Maelstrom, which we're not spec'd into, which we just cast one or two of whenever we have the mana. Avalanche is going to be pretty spendy, and then you have Summon Storm Totem, which isn't too bad. With this, we have increased cold damage, increased spell damage, we have freeze rate multiplier, and we have chance to shock on hit. Now, the chance to shock on hit isn't the most important thing, so that's the one you can have the lowest tier of. You also don't need a whole lot of the spell and cold damage. The freeze rate multiplier is the first thing that you're going to want T5 of. So go for T5 freeze rate multiplier, then I would go for shock second, and then cold and spell damage last. The reason that shock is the second best on there is because for every stack of shock that you have on the enemy, you're going to do more damage to them. For our chest piece, we have attunement, vitality, and freeze rate chance per stack of chill on the enemy, along with increased health. For our helm, we have attunement, we have set, physical, and void. Set, physical, and void is the only set resistance that we're going to use in the prefix slot. We're going to most of our resistances, like all of our elemental and physical, from our totems. We also have freeze rate per stack of chill and increased health on the helm as well. For our amulet, we have freeze rate multiplier and set physical and void resistance. We also have another chance to shock on hit along with some flat health. For our ring, we have freeze rate multiplier and we have damage leech as health on hit, along with necrotic and poison resistance. For our belt, we have set physical and void. We have dodge rating for 4 seconds on a potion use. We have hybrid health and increased health. And then for our ring, we have some more freeze rate multiplier, more damage leech's health on hit, flat health, and some poison resistance. For our gloves, we went with freeze rate multiplier, more damage leech's health on hit. As you can see, we have a lot of damage leech's health on hit, which is nice because those avalanche boulders hit really hard and they're going to refill your health really fast. That freeze rate multiplier on everything is also going to give you a really good chance to freeze everything, which helps with your survivability because things that are frozen can't hit you. And we have flat health and hybrid health. For our boots, we have our last and final fourth physical and void resistance set. We have attunement, hybrid health, and then we have necrotic resistance. Now, if you want to lose a bit of health, you can put movement speed on these. And then for our relic, we have freeze rate multiplier, more damage leech's health on it, and then necrotic and poison resistance. For our character sheet, as you can see, we are capped in all of our resistance except for lightning and fire. Remember, as soon as we put on our totems here, which you'll have your totems always active because you're always going to be hitting enemies, as soon as those are out, as you can see, we're capped in everything. In fact, we have a huge amount of cold resist because that cold resist comes with the freeze rate multiplier that you put on all of your gear. We only have 22% reduced damage through armor. We have no dodge. However, remember, when we do use a potion, we do get some dodge, so we jump up to a 22% chance to dodge. This is a level 100 character. And then for our damage stats, as you can see, we have almost 200% spell damage. We have 200% cold damage. Of course, both of those go up per active totem. So just by getting those out there, you see we have almost 700% cold damage, and we have 360% spell damage, which means that your spell and cold skills, which is all of them, are going to be hitting really hard, and that's why you're getting those 5 and 6k crits with Avalanche. You have Ice Thorns, which is hitting hard, Tempest, which is hitting decently hard, your Totem's doing some good damage, and it all adds together for it to be a pretty damaging build. Now remember, I like to put Maelstrom on my 5th skill. You can use Fury Leap if you want to get yourself a movement skill and get out of trouble. I like Maelstrom. It doesn't let you leech it because it's not doing hits, but it has an additional chance to freeze, so that will mean all 5 of your skills have a chance to freeze, which is really nice. It is going to give you the best chance at making sure that your enemy is always frozen. Alright, so for the skill rotation on this build, how to play it and how all of the stats work, I like to run my first 3 skills, my Storm Totem, Ice Thorns, and Avalanche, I'll all put on auto cast. so that they are always going off. And then I just run around and I use Tempest Strike to hit enemies, and I use Maelstrom whenever I have extra mana. Now you'll notice that as I use Tempest Strike, my mana is basically always going to stay full. After Avalanche, which is a super expensive skill, goes off, in fact ours costs 111 mana, but as you use it, you're going to notice that my mana stays pretty full. I can put on some stacks of Maelstrom. I usually do 1 or 2 Maelstrom stacks, and then I go back to using Tempest Strike. And you can see it's nothing but cold and freezing, and we're just hitting really hard. In fact, our Avalanche is even doing some 30k crits against the training dummy. It can do even more, but I don't think you can actually freeze the training dummy, so we're not getting the more damage against it. But we are getting some shock in there. We're doing some extra hits. And then as you can see for our stats, as long as you have the totems active, you're going to be capped on your resistance, and you're going to have lots and lots of damage. And with the Ice Thorns going off, you'll notice that our cold damage actually took off to almost 770%. Our freeze rate multiplier is going to go up as well. Because of that, we're at almost 2200%. And that's just how the build works. You run around with it on autocast, Tempest Strike whenever you need mana. When you have full mana, give yourself 1 or 2 stacks of Maelstrom and just get it done. Alright, here's some more gameplay.